My girl Joy,
What's
I am
happening?
so excited to finally sit you down and hear everything you got going on and just chat with you.
Let's go.
This has been a long time coming. I feel like even ever since the first time I met you, it was like someone was like, "Hey, this is Joy," and I was like, I just felt so. I was like, "Whoa!" Like
That was a lot.
who is this person that just walked up to me? And I was like, and the name fits so perfectly. It's like it's only a matter of time until I had to sit you down and really
Glad
pick
to
your
be
brain
here.
a little bit.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
You're like, it's gonna be a joyful occasion. I feel it.
It's gotta be.
Must.
Yeah. Roman, we even talked about it. Roaming around with Joy is the best name.
Charlotte's not even ready.
Charlotte,
The world's not even ready.
The world ain't ready. You saw the map.
We pulled up the map.
We're about to hit some dark spots.
And to all of our friends in France, we thank thee.
Yeah, especially the little point of France that
We should go
hopefully
visit.
no one listens. Yeah,
We should go find out who that person is.
staying in that square foot.
Mhm. Be like, can we sleep on your couch? We just want to get to know you
They don't
better.
have a couch.
Yeah, palace.
Yeah, 2 foot.
They
All
probably
right.
have a castle.
Hopefully,
Maybe.
castle at the edge of the island.
Could be.
So for all the people who don't know who you are, give us just a brief background on who Joy
Who
is.
Joy is. Well, I'm actually from Charlotte.
Wow.
One of the very few.
Yeah.
We're kind of unicorns.
Unicorns. Are you hiding a horn under there?
I mean, so my hair is tied today. This is a great way of saying I didn't have a ton of time, but you still want to be like kind of fashionable.
Mhm.
But it's like the biggest secret that's hiding up under here.
Yeah, it's like
So.
James Harden's beard.
Yeah, you don't know you don't know what's happening under there, but they look real cute.
Yeah, you just don't ask questions.
Yeah, I wish everyone could see this going on right now, but
I'm definitely gonna post the video.
The turban
now,
is now you had to post the video because people really won't understand like what we're talking about. It's a whole mood. But yeah, I'm from Charlotte. I'm from a huge family. We're super tight. There's 7 kids in our family, so I've got 5 brothers and a sister. And just growing up here, seeing how much Charlotte has grown and changed. Really humble beginnings. For sure. It's crazy that we're sitting here at your place and like, I grew up down the street, and everyone who thinks Charlotte's so amazing now, I'm like, pretty sure in high school people were like, is that side of Monroe Road safe? You know? So you look back and like, whoa, uptown. Is it uptown or downtown? What do you call it?
I called it downtown until I moved uptown.
I see.
Yeah.
I'm like, are we trying to be Atlanta?
That's
We're going
right.
to come up with like a mid. We do have kind of midtown.
We do in Midtown now.
Oh.
But when I lived up in Concord, when I first moved down here, I was always going downtown.
Downtown.
Yeah.
But now you live uptown.
Now I live uptown, and so we uptown.
So we uptown now. We uptown. Yeah, just growing up here to see all the growth and change, but I'm in real estate now. And so to be in a space where I'm like, gosh, what a time to be alive. Literally, areas of Charlotte that people look at now as uptown or South End or NODA. I'm like, that was not the business when I was growing up. But now my parents live right here in Plaza Midwood area. And it's just so cool to be in this space. But growing up was a crazy ride. I think growing up in a very small house with a whole lot of people.
Mhm.
I think I look back and I'm like, I think our house probably was like 1,200 square feet. We had 1.5 baths, 1 bathtub, 9 people. So we joke about being like the quick and the hungry. Like, y'all are on a rotation and I'm gonna need you to like move out of my space. But I really think that our family is just unique in a lot of ways. I mean, coming from, who has 7 kids these days? What's the average? Like, I have 2.3 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know what the 0.3 is, but no one has more than 2 kids or 3 kids is like a big family.
Yeah.
My dad's probably made less than $40,000 my whole life supporting 9 people.
Ooh.
Do the math on that. And I just look back at so many times where I'm just amazed at where we are now versus where we came from, and just to see just how goodness and favor has followed us my whole life. On paper, none of it makes sense.
Most times it doesn't either.
And that's what keeps, variety is the spice of life. My parents had always said, as long as it's legal, we'll support you 150%. And just because it's like, hey, I'll support you doesn't mean that I have the dollars and cents to cut a check for everything you want to do. But I feel like growing up poor, that's when you have too much month at the end of your money. That is the true definition of being poor.
Yeah.
I've got too much month and my money is gone like week 1,
Yeah.
But just seeing the opportunities that have come alive in our life. I've got a brother in the NFL. Matthias, he plays for the Jets now. My youngest brother, Silas, dances for the New York City Ballet.
Oh, wow.
Got a sister in the wine business with E&J
Yeah.
Gallo. I mean, it's just brothers in sales and recruiting and amazing artists and real estate. Everyone's like, what doesn't your family like do? Like, is there anything that y'all can't do? I'm like, hey, to whom much is given, much is required. And it's been so cool just to see how
Wow.
you don't have to start with a ton to
Yeah.
make a difference. And I really think that our family is a testament of God's grace, of saying, hey, this is nothing. I mean, my parents would be the first to tell you that this is nothing that we did. And on paper, none of this is possible.
Yeah.
Private school education and a foundation that came alongside our family to allow low-income families to send their kids to the private school of their choice. We're actually going to New York in May for a big gala that they're gonna have like our picture in Times Square, like just the
What?
craziest stuff that you can never put on paper or scripted.
Wow.
I think that's what keeps life really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same kind of way with me and my family. It was just me, my brother, and sister, smaller family.
I mean,
But-
have one kid and you're like, wow, this is the hardest thing I've ever done times
We
7.
stopped crying?
Can you stop doing that? And you're hungry all the time.
And so my family, I mean, we were sleeping on patio furniture in Colorado when we first, or when I was really young, and then we moved to Virginia. Kind of had the support of my grandparents and everything there, and that's kind of when things started turning up for us.
Turn it up!
But that's awesome. And were you always kind of local in Charlotte? And like, have you left?
Did you ever leave?
Did you ever
They
leave?
let you out of the basement? Yeah, so I grew up in Charlotte, East Side. And then I went to UNC Wilmington for
Nice.
college. And the goal was never to necessarily move back to Charlotte. I've always said, hey, wherever I'm going to be the biggest asset, wherever I go, I can move across the country, whatever. But just turns out that life landed me here right after college. And I mean, I lived at home for 10 months after I graduated, being
Nice.
like, I am broke as a joke. And the job I knew that it was like a guaranteed deal fell through 3 weeks before I graduated. And I was like, well, I guess I'll be moving back to Charlotte. That was never the plan.
Yeah.
But that's how life works.
Yeah.
We plan and God laughs. And
Yeah.
it's like, when I try to script out my life and then I
hope
look
it's
back.
in pencil.
Yeah, then I look back. Yeah, don't put it in Sharpie because
don't
it's
put
like.
it- that's what he writes in.
Yeah, that's what you write in. But just to look back and say, I'm so glad that I landed here. I mean, I've created such different roots than growing up here. I think because Charlotte is so expansive. I mean, Charlotte's in the top 2 real estate markets in the country.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Austin, Texas, watch out. But
Yeah.
we have everything. Sports, arts, great climate, weather. You could drive to the beach, drive to the mountains. People
Yeah.
want to be here. Great, cost of living. There's just so many positives
It's a hot seat right now.
that we literally get to be like, I got to grow up here. I was able to see this place grow and change into so many things that people who are just kind of joining the party
Oh.
are like, Charlotte's amazing. I'm like, where you live in South End was dangerous or wasn't really the place to be, but that just says, hey, we're growing. And I don't know, I'm always in a growth mindset. So I'm like, okay, Charlotte, bring it on.
About time.
About time everyone else caught
You
up.
had the growth mindset,
Yeah,
Charlotte.
yeah. You're like, I loved Charlotte before Charlotte became Charlotte.
Yeah.
The CLT.
The Queen City.
I'm like, now I just need all the swag, So if anyone's like, hey, that's 704. Do you have you don't have a 704 number.
No, I'm a 571.
Oh, that 571
Still
life.
in Virginia.
I
I'm
don't
Virginia,
hate.
DC, but
I mean, for all of those who are listening, you're like, well, for the original ones of us that have a 704 number, until they ran out of 704 numbers, and now you got like a 980. So if anyone calls you from a 980 number, just know that they ran out of 704s.
And I don't think I can risk changing my phone number again because
People
I
won't
think
know where to
people
go.
will just ignore me. So
They'll
it's
forget
like-
about me completely.
they're Like, well,
Traitor.
third time's not the charm. And you've been clipped.
You were really in my inner circle, but now you're not.
So how was your experience at UNC Wilmington? And what did you study?
I loved Wilmington. Well, on paper, I mean, going back to talking about humble beginnings, on paper, my parents could afford $12 on paper to send my tail to college. And so I think in high school, I kind of got this idea of, okay, well, how am I going to put myself through school? My older siblings played, college athletics, whether it was football, basketball. My sister had a great academic scholarship, but here I am being like, okay, well, all of them have gotten a scholarship. How am I going to make college happen? And so I didn't touch a volleyball until 8th grade, given I'm 6'1", 6 wonderful.
6 wonderful.
And I grew 6 inches in a school year between, was it 7th and 8th grade? So I was like almost 6 foot in like 8th grade. Of course, so you're like, okay, so we need to recruit Joy for the basketball team. Maybe she would want to play volleyball. You know, I'm like, this is not even stacked in my favor. Like, does anyone ask what I want to do? Stop using me for my height. And reaching like, all the top things on the top shelf.
Like, everybody line up on the wall and they see the tallest.
Yeah, they're like, we need her.
You short people, go to the wrestling room.
You can go play with the band.
You tall, you could go play basketball.
Oh, we need you. So I didn't touch a volleyball till 8th grade, and then I just fell in love with the game. So at one point I was playing volleyball, basketball, softball, and my volleyball coach in high school, Evan, came up to me and was like, if you really want to get serious about volleyball, I really think that you're good enough to play club. And I was like, okay. I think that was the first time this light bulb went off that, what would happen if I really got serious about volleyball and was able to really make something happen with it in college or some kind of scholarship opportunity. And I mean, I was on the honor roll. I got great grades in high school. National Honor Society, shout out. So academically, I knew that I could get some scholarship money, but then at the same time, it's like, okay, well, what's that going to look like kind of long term? So ended up UNC Wilmington, played club there. Nice. Got a lot of academic scholarship money, majored in psychology. I've always been fascinated by people. So if anyone knows me, I'm the biggest people person. Yeah. I think as I get older, I'm kind of turning into more of an ambivert, where I'm not super extroverted all the time, but definitely have my introverted ways.
Gosh, I'm the same boat.
Just
because it's I felt like I was giving myself so much for such a long time, and then it wasn't until I got smart about where I was putting my energy, where I was like, I don't know if
kind of worn out by the people.
Yeah. I was talking.
Too people outside.
It's
too people-y.
Yep. I'll go out when it's snowing in Charlotte.
I saw this meme the other day. It was like, when I wanted to go out in public, then I went outside and the public was there. I was like, oh, I totally relate to that. But I think if you work with the general public, and you're talking all day long, and sometimes you're just in a space where you just need to recharge your batteries, and then once you feel full, then you can go be all social. But I love people in general. If you follow me on Instagram, my bio says friend collector. Some people collect Woody mugs or shoes or little trinkets, houseplants, whatever you want to do. Yeah. But everyone's like, Joy, you kind of collect friends. You don't know a stranger.
I like that.
And the first time we met, I was like, oh my gosh, you're cool. We had best conversations, and you invite people back into your circle. I think I've always been one of those people who never liked seeing other people excluded from things, whether you were sitting by yourself at the lunch table or, you're in the corner at an event and no one's engaging with you. And you're like, oh, hey, I'm Joy. What's your story? People will tell you if you just are open to having some of those conversations, and then when everybody feels like somebody cares.
Gosh, I love my name, Roman, and I feel like for a long time I was very good at introducing myself, but very bad at remembering names.
Me too.
And I couldn't imagine with you, no one's gonna forget Joy. No one's gonna forget Joy. And just what's your name? And you're like, my name is Joy.
Joy.
My name
you can't say it sadly either.
No, my name
is Joy.
Joy.
Just like that.
And you're like, I can't even imagine.
But when you have a name like Joy, it comes with a lot of pressure, I think sometimes. And I've had to grow into my name, for a lot of years of, okay, your name's Joy, but do you have to be joyful all the time? Or can you have a bad day? Or if you're not being super bubbly or outgoing, people wonder if, you're feeling okay, or people have this expectation that you're always super up and on all the time. And I've gone through all kinds of ups and downs where I'm like, I don't feel joyful. I don't even want to get out of bed today. Yeah. I think that's just all of us. You go through different seasons of, for me, it's been anxiety, depression, but I've always been super open about my story. And so I think when people can relate to being like, wow, even with a name like Joy that fits you, you're still human. You
Yeah.
still go through stuff, and
Still fight adversity.
you still fight it. And I think being able to talk to people openly about things like that, where it's not a place of shame or secrecy, or if someone, it's like imposter syndrome. If people really knew that I didn't want to go to bed today, like how would they see me? And I think what I've taken away from that is we're so much more alike than we are different.
Yeah.
You know, talking to people about the real stuff in life, not just the perfectly filtered things you see on Instagram, opens up these conversations that are real and meaningful, and shed light on a lot of issues that everyone's struggling with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, I'm not alone.
You're not
Like, me
alone.
too, sis.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Shoot, I'd be lying if I said I really wanted to get out of bed on my day off.
I'm off too today.
Yeah,
And here
on
we
my-
are.
yep,
Making it happen.
On my day off, like underneath my weighted blanket, I was like,
I want
I
one of those.
meditated and I was like, man, I don't want to get up.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't.
It's like dreary in Charlotte today. We might get some snow though.
Yeah, hopefully.
Maybe we'll get trapped here. I don't know.
It's snowing right now.
Is it? Didn't look outside.
And so you were a psychology major, similar with me. I was sports and exercise psychology.
Yeah.
And so, and then how did that go into Wilmington playing club?
Well, I think what happened with me was I went to college thinking that I wanted to be a business major. And when you're 18, 17, you're like, oh, I want to be a businesswoman.
Everyone wants to be a business
And
major.
you know
I feel
what?
like that's the most major.
And
it has to be.
the real was I just wanted to wear pencil skirts and stilettos to an office one day.
Not a bad fit.
You know, I was like, oh, my Pinterest board of all of the office chic outfits.
Yeah.
But then you took a business class and quickly figured out that accounting and boring classes. I'm like, this is not me. What I thought business looked like, and sitting in those classes that just didn't light me up.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in my first psychology class. It was like Psychology 101 or something. It was like basic. And I just remember just this light bulb went off of, I have always been fascinated by human behavior. I've always been that friend that people come to when they're, you know, feeling low and want to talk it out. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, maybe I could just get paid for doing this. Like, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
And then I got deeper and deeper into my major, and, you know, of course you have to like take all these statistics classes. What people think psychology majors and real psychology majors are, everyone thinks that you can like read their mind. I'm like, I can't psychoanalyze you.
Yeah.
They don't teach you that in undergrad.
I can only read athletes' minds.
Yes,
now.
I can only read athletes' minds
Now that
now.
I'm
What makes you
sports-
tick? Now I'm like, what makes you tick and what ticks you off? I want to know.
Wow.
But I ended up in statistics class, and my professor, Dr. Kepley, shout out, asked me to join his research lab. So his research area was adolescents with ADHD. I was like, interesting. I don't mind doing all of your clinical studies on campus. I did all of his research. I found myself in the lab my senior year. So I was in his lab from my sophomore year to my senior year. And I look back and I'm like, oh, finding yourself in the lab, crunching statistical analysis. And it was like, I'm too fun for this. This is not what I want to do. I want to help people. But I definitely don't want to be writing APA articles and doing psychology is research. And so if you don't want to do the research, but you want to help people, then maybe you can make those gel in some other way.
Yeah.
And that's when this whole real estate thing popped up out of a text message. You know, the job I thought I had tied up in the bag falls through 3 weeks before I graduated. You know, here I am being like, what am I going to do with my life? Was going through a crazy breakup. It just felt like at the end of my senior year, everything just blew up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, I've worked so hard these past 4 years to get to here, and now I've got nothing to show for it.
That's usually when stuff happens.
That's
though.
when the best
chaos.
stuff happens.
When it's chaos, when you're like, I don't
Chaos.
know what's going on. I got rent due at the end of the month. I don't even know how I'm gonna pay it.
All these bills are my
it's
name.
just
I don't
like,
have room to fail kind of
You
feeling.
feel like you're cat in a hat. You got everything.
Yeah.
You're juggling all.
And all the plates are dropping and breaking, and you sit there wondering, okay, well, what's the next iteration of Joy going to look like? If it's not psychology, if it's not getting my goal is to be Dr. Farley. I wanted to get my PhD in clinical
Paging
psychology.
Dr. Farley.
Yeah, I'm like, mic check. I guess Joy is Dr. Farley in the building. It just sounded good. But I also would be in school for the next 10 years, and if you have that gut feeling, I'm super into following that intuition of something's not right. what am I going to do about it? I could be like, oh, I felt that, and now here we are 10 years down the road being like, I should have listened to my gut 10 years ago, but here I am not excited about where I am. So I got a text message probably a few weeks after kind of all of these things culminating and saying, okay, well, it was from Dan Horner, who's one of the owners of True Homes, which is at the time was one of the biggest builders in Charlotte. Great family friend. He reached out to me and said, hey, on my No G Network phone, my phone was like, it does not get data and it barely sends pictures. Yeah. And he sent me a text that said, hey, I just picked up your graduation party invitation off the kitchen counter. It just dawned on me that there's a sales position I think you might be a great fit for. Call me, we can discuss the opportunity. And here I am like, 1, I didn't have Dan's number. 2, we have never had a business conversation ever. And at this point, the job I knew I had in the bag is now gone, and here I am feeling like I have empty hands, and those are the best moments when you feel like you have nothing in your hands. It's like, but if your hands are open, you can receive and you can throw something back to you. And I remember calling Dan back and saying, hey, great to hear from you. What you got? And so that conversation turned into a lot of different things I've been watching you for years, and you have it that you can't teach. Whatever it is, no one really knows what it is. You can't. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't, and you really can't create it or buy
I'm no IT guy, but I think I have it. Too.
I think you have I have it. Talk date. I saw this t-shirt that says talk data to me, and I was like a true IT guy. Yeah. Yes, getting off the elevator somewhere in Charlotte. But that conversation turned into a lot of things, which then turned into a launching pad of an amazing real estate career. You talk about being in real estate in 2000. I was in school during the downturn, 2007, 2008. I was in college those years. So it's almost like this protection of, okay, when everyone else is, losing in the market and doing all these things, and I graduate in 2012. And it's kind of like, okay, well, the real estate winds weren't completely blowing in your face, but they weren't completely behind you.
Yeah.
But I learned the business from the best, and I think if you can do the hard thing first, everything becomes relative, especially being in a down market. And now people come to Charlotte and they're like, oh, it's like super hot and everything's multiple offers. I'm like, well, I got into real estate in a down market, so the things you know how to do now, in comparison to if you're just getting in the game, it's like, this turns out to be kind
smooth
of
sailing.
It's still a hard business, but in comparison to like hoping you can make a sale versus like people actually want to like be here. But just seeing the transition of getting into a psychology degree, wanting to help people, realizing that maybe it wasn't in a clinical sense, and then to be in a space now where I'm like, I get to help people every single day. Making the biggest decisions of their life where you gain trust with them. It's really just, it's a connection game. People walk in your door as strangers and they always leave as friends. And I'm always blown away by the fact that they tell me yes.
I feel like the psychology game is big in what you're doing now, because you can kind of hear the needs of what the people are saying without them actually saying it.
They'll tell you.
Because they might tell you something, but then it's like, you can like tell that there's something you're not saying underneath there. Or there's something that you might have a deeper want underneath there that that you could just pull out. Next thing you know, you're like, well, let me show you this home with a backyard. And they're like, oh my gosh. You can hear the wife and just like, I want a backyard.
For me, it's knowing what's not working for them, how long they've been looking, what were they hoping to find with me that they haven't found somewhere else, and really understanding why they're standing in front of me. Anyone can, I work for a builder, so I'm in new construction, and I don't only just get to sell you something, I get to build you something.
Ooh.
And for me, building community is my jam.
Yeah.
Literally between friends, I literally get to build communities. I could drive through so many neighborhoods in Charlotte and be like, there's the so-and-sos and there's the so-and-sos, and oh my gosh, like your kids are in high school now, like makes me feel old. But when it comes down to it, saying, hey, there's a lot of things why people move. There's so many reasons why people move, and they're not always happy. Maybe you're getting divorced, maybe your spouse died, maybe, you're new to the city because your job relocated you here, or it's not just you're looking for a 4-bedroom house with 3 bathrooms and a flat backyard.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, tell me a little about, tell me your story. But I think when you can connect with people, you're not an intrusive salesperson. You become an advisor or it's really like a trusted professional confidant who's gonna say, hey, like, why are you here? You know, how can I not just, you know, find you a solution, but how can I serve you? And that's always my intention of saying, I really want to help you. And if I don't have what you're looking for, I'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction. Because even if I'm not the right fit for you, you're gonna walk out my door and still be looking for a home. So if I have, you know, maybe another builder or maybe another agent who could help you, people respect that. And I think when you really make people feel like I'm not just here to sell you something, I'm really here to serve you, that opens up a completely different level of, they can just exhale. I'm not a slimy salesperson who's just trying to like put you in something for a commission. People walk away being like, wow, even if I didn't buy with her, like she pointed me in the right direction, or she was willing to help me, not just sell me. And I think that is, I don't know, it's a unique place to be, even though you are in sales. And frankly, sales is psychology. It's a skill as much as it is a mental game. And when you really make people feel like, I'm really here just to help you, like what's missing, how can I help you connect the dots, and then give them the two options of, hey, either we're gonna find you an amazing solution today, or I might not be the best fit for you, but if not, then I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Is that fair? It makes everybody's like, like you can just hear this exhale of like, okay, well she's not just trying to sell me something. I already told you where we're gonna go. It's almost like, have you ever sat in a meeting where you wish there was an agenda because you're like, are we on point 2 or point 7? Because that means we're wrapping out. You know, people come in my door, I'm like, hey, here's kind of the landscape of what we're gonna do today. Bam, bam, bam. I'm gonna make really good use of your time. Here's what's gonna happen. One of two things. We're either gonna find you an amazing solution, or maybe I'm not the best fit for you. But if not, then no harm, no foul. High five. I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. So every day's a game. Never 2 days are ever the same. And I really feel like, I don't know, it's purposeful work. Where you feel like it matters, and you really get to be like literally boots on the ground in the face of an amazing company that people gain trust with you. And you know, at the end of the day, when they close, almost like, oh my gosh, they don't need me anymore. They're like driving in their own driveway, and I don't just see you coming in to check on your house. You're like literally staying and going to the grocery store or something. But it's amazing. So if you ever need me to build you a house, Roman, I got you.
Hey, one day, it won't be long now.
All right. Well, you got my number.
And I feel like that's something that I learned even at Lululemon. It's like, I mean, I don't go in there and say like, what are you looking for today? I'm like, how do you sweat? Like, what are you shopping for? Is it an event or something? And it's like,
we're just gonna look cute picking up your dry cleaning.
Hey, if you're going from the gym to this, go in this. And like,
athleisure is the jam.
They're like, I'm looking to run a marathon. I'm like,
you need these
pants. Like, let's put you in these. What's the temperature gonna be like? And then it's like I find out like what they're actually gonna do, and then. Like you said, when they close, you're like, oh my gosh, you're so happy.
You look amazing in those.
Then when they walk out of the store, I'm like, you go crush that marathon and you're going to look good doing it.
But you weren't just like, hey, you need those most expensive pair of leggings because that's like numbers on a board. It's asking those second, third, fourth, deep level questions. And then on the receiving end, it's like, wow, like he was really listening to me. He really understood why I ever walked into Lululemon in the first place. You know, it's not just leggings. It's like, hey, what are they going to be used for? And I'm pretty sure every time they're going to put those on, they're like, oh, he really served me. He didn't just sell me, he served me. And that's a different feeling on both sides of the fence.
Completely different feeling. And it's good when you receive that. Because sometimes I'll walk into stores and not receive that. And I'm like,
I don't want to do that to somebody else.
I'm like, hey,
that's
not a good feeling, you know? And
but I feel like in our own experiences in life, how we feel or how other people, you know, their interactions with us make us feel, it almost allows you to kind of turn the other corner and say, hey, how am I going to treat the next person that walks in the store or whatever your situation is, and say, I don't want anyone ever to feel like that when they're with me. That I never am the reason why people walk away being like, that was not a good experience. And, you know, when you write contracts for a living, you're signing off on things. And one of the biggest things that I learned at True was to do work that's worthy of your signature. In anything. If you put your name on something, whether it's a letter or a contract or or see anything like you're signing off on, I'm like, I want to do work that is worthy of my sign off.
Yeah. Signing work with pride.
Yeah, if my name's on it, then I want it to mean something that like, yes, like this is done with excellence, or yes, this is right the first time, or wow, like I'm really putting my name on something that matters. And I think when you're in a profession where you're signing off on things, like yes, this has my seal of approval, then to do work that's worthy of your signature, it's game changer.
Yeah, even if someone came in back in the store and they talked to another one of my fellow coworkers and they were like, Roman helped me last time, but he didn't put me in the right pants, I'd be like, dang it.
Right.
Like that wouldn't sit right with me. I hope no one's ever done that, by the way.
And if I have, I'm so sorry. Please come back.
Please come back. We'll get you in the right pair.
We've got really great options this month.
But I mean, it's really just getting to know the person, but connecting. I mean,
I've seen you in action. I have seen you in action in the store.
We're both connectors.
Man, I wish I had a Lululemon budget every month where I could just come in and hang out and be like, please put me in the right pants.
We can find some pants for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Crucial.
Yeah. And so I know outside of real estate, you got so much other stuff going on.
I know.
And so let's hop into.
Do we have like 5 hours of time?
We have as much time. As you want.
Okay. Okay. So real estate's kind of the main gig in my life, but I think there's so many other things that light me up. We've talked about kind of building community. I have Facebook, if you're listening, I need more than 5,000 friends because I'm like having to ship people off the friendship island. People are like, I can't even add you on Facebook. What's up with that? Did you know that? You can only have 5,000 Facebook friends. Wow. It's not cool. We need to do something about that.
But, I mean, you could start a page.
I know, but is it weird to have like your own fan page?
Who said it has to be a friend? A
fan
page. It can be
another friend page?
Friend page where people just like it and you can still kind of interact and they can write too. It's not even like a fan. You can actually start a group.
A group? Oh, I do have a group.
Do you enjoy a group?
I'll tell you about. I created a group.
Wow.
So here's my thing: is not only do I love community, but I have a huge heart for females supporting females. I think we're in a really unique space where if I close my eyes, you'd probably think of all the mean girls from high school or the ones that made you feel like less than or didn't cheer when you win, kind of types. And I've always, like I said, I've always been one where I want everybody to feel included, that they're welcome, there's space for you at the table, and if there's not, then we'll create our own table or group.
Sit on the floor.
Yeah, or we'll sit on the floor.
We'll all sit on the floor, no table.
You're like, no table. You're like, lawn chairs, whatever we need. It doesn't have to be fancy, but when people feel like you make them a part of something, and maybe that's just the space we live in now of people want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So I have a group on Facebook called Made for More, and that came out of just a random thing I posted about, raise your hand if you want to be a part of like a really amazing girl gang where we fiercely support each other, and if we get enough people, like we'll get jackets. It was this thing like floating around, and I posted it, and the response was ridiculous. I got so many messages, so many people's hands up of like, oh my gosh, I would love to be a part of that. Please add me to your group. They thought that I created. I'm like, I really just reposted this and now I'm in trouble. I'm talking hundreds of messages, responses, people who were like, yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And here I am sitting, on my phone going, oh man, did I just put myself in a position? What have I opened? And what I figured out that I opened was this really deep desire for women to be in a space where they feel supported, where they feel empowered, where they're inspired to not just, show up for each other, but where someone's really cheering for them, or, I think we're all made for more. And that came out of an idea of saying, have you ever heard people who say, oh, well, I'm just this, I just work in retail, or I'm just a lawyer, I'm just
so much of their identity
into one thing. And it's so limiting.
Lived there for a while.
I think we've all done it. Yeah. I'm just a real estate professional.
I was a wrestler I was an athlete.
I'm an athlete. Me too.
Athlete, strong one.
Huge identity
crisis.
And then you realize that there's so much more to all of us. I want more connection. I want more love. I want more support. I want more of all these things, but you're so much more than just an athlete. Yeah. You're creative. You are a connector. You are just dynamic in so many different ways that have nothing to do with you just being anything.
Yeah,
We're all made for more. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I just created a group. So on December 4th of last year, I was sitting in a coffee shop over in South End and clicked create group. And in an hour, there were over 300 people in that group. In a couple of days, it was like hundreds. Like there's almost 1,200 people in that group now, 1,300 people. And I'm like, dang, every day you show up and you just realize that people need a space to connect with other people who are like-minded and who cheer for each other. And that's been really cool just to see these relationships kind of form.
Oh,
and
man.
you look forward to people's posts of, what they're going through or how they can be supported in, whatever way. So that's huge, made for more. I am filming a TV show right now, which is funny because my mom was in television before kids and family and the whole nine. So I'm like, well, maybe I got some of your, creative genes of not being camera shy. I don't know. I got asked to be a model for a styled photo shoot, a bridal photo shoot, and that was last spring.
I saw that.
So
shoot.
everyone was really
wonderful.
upset that I got married and didn't tell them.
Yeah.
And anyone who knows me, I was like, always the bride, but never the bride.
Yeah.
And just that was super fun. Our videographer John, we had such a great day that day, and he reached out to me back in September and said, "Hey, I've got this idea for this pilot TV show called The Soul of Charlotte." That we're gonna, have probably like 5 different Charlotte influencers together where we're gonna really find the soul of the city. The people you meet, the stories you tell, the ways you can bring people along to events and, great new restaurants or new spots that maybe, everyone doesn't know about.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that sounds so up my alley. I love being out and about. I love connecting with new people. I think I have a healthy love of strangers where I'm like, hey, what's your name? Tell me all the things.
Yeah.
And then it's just been this great connection between me and these 4 other amazing women that we're shooting with. And we're going to events and supporting local charities and going to new restaurants that people might not know about, or it's so cool.
Wow.
Soul of Charlotte, got my hands in that. I'm leading this really awesome Bible study with my friend Kelly Brock and 3 other amazing humans, Natasha Hemingway, Cindy Mercado Jenkins, and Claire Steiner, which was a easy yes. When your friends are like, hey, I've got this idea, what are your thoughts? And I'm like, totally in. So that's another thing where people want to be a part of a community of saying, hey, let's go through this. It's called Solo. It's a 365-day devotional that every day, Monday through Friday, there's one of us going live Monday through Friday with the daily devotional. And then people are, it's just been the most amazing community. And then again, it's also one of those things.
Is that on?
It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook.
Solo, just called Solo Devo. You can follow that hashtag on Instagram as well. But it's just it's an uncommon devotional where people are like, okay, well, it's short, sweet, to the point. It's teaching you how to read, to live. Yeah, it's teaching you how to read.
Can I listen?
You can listen. I'm a whole auditory learner. But it's just a really cool opportunity. And then there's in no time there's almost 2,000 people in that group too. It's just amazing how the impact that you can have by sharing the things that matter to you, where you can show up for people and say, hey, invite your friends, share it on social media, and then this floodgate of people who have a similar interest or passion or beliefs, whatever it is, that they want to be a part of something bigger. And so I think that all circles back to being I love building community, period. So if it has anything to do with, building communities, being a part of a community, leading, I think that's the thing I've taken away recently is you don't have to be, have gray hair to be a leader. You don't have to have all of the experience in the world to be a leader. You don't have to have it all put together or have it all figured out to be a leader. And that just says, I'll go first. That's all it is. That's all leadership is. I'll go first.
Yeah, it can start from raising your hand, or it can start from just
a problem that you're having in your life of okay, well, I need help with this.
Yeah.
How can we be a part of something where everyone benefits and that everyone can contribute something? And it just takes someone stepping up and saying, hey, maybe if this doesn't exist and I want life to look like this, what am I gonna have to do? You can't just like wait for things to happen for you until you're like, okay, well, leadership is the mark of saying, I'll go first and I'll bring everybody else along with me. But also creating a really safe space where people feel heard, you feel seen.
Judgment-free environment where you can just...
Life is too hard without having to walk out into your daily life and saying, do I have a safe space anywhere?
You shouldn't be scared to say anything.
No.
Because
Speak up.
You're not the only one feeling that, no matter what it is.
Tell me this. Don't you find that when you talk about things that matter, that people lean in and they want to be like, oh man, me too. Oh my gosh, you have the same struggles that I have? Like, you wanted to stay under your weighted blanket today too?
Yeah.
Same. And you find that we're just so much more alike than we are different. And when you zoom out and realize that that's the case, then it gives everybody this really cool dynamic that you can have real conversations that matter. You can support each other, you can show up for each other because you're like, wow, I have the same struggles that you do. There's nothing different between you and I other than maybe our stories are a little bit different, but are rooted in the same things.
Yeah, it's interesting how like one person's vulnerability will strengthen the whole, almost the collective. I mean, you'll have
it's like us conversation.
Yeah, it's like
we.
Like I've been in some situations where just open conversation talk where it's like just almost like a big round table, and then it's like someone has to go first, and then it's like once like, and I love being that person. I feel like I'm undercover. Because I feel like I'm undercover, and when someone says something, I give 4 seconds. If I hear 4 seconds of silence, that's when I immediately jump in. Because that's when it's like I'll give someone, if someone really wants to get something off their chest, they can get it out. If not, I'll start the conversation.
Right. But a lot of people feel like that vulnerability is weakness. That, oh my gosh, like if people know that I'm struggling with something, that means that then all of a sudden maybe people look at me like I'm not capable, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm struggling, so that means I'm, probably having issues in my business or my life. And then you're like, that's not it at all. Yeah. I find that when people are vulnerable with you, then that just says, wow, like there's a deeper level of connection. Yeah. That if you can hold the weight of whatever I'm about to tell you, then I have a safe place to drop it off when life gets too heavy. Yeah. And I think it doesn't have to be everybody. You don't have to go like air all of your laundry on
just
social media. It's not a diary.
Yeah, don't empty out your closet on my front doorstep.
Right, but have a tight group of people who are going to be there when life goes left, not right, or that you can share your wins with too. I've been having lots of conversations with people recently, and I'm like, I definitely have my group of people where I can go to when life is heavy or hard, or you've got questions about all kinds of things, but do I have a circle of people that I am willing to share the good things going on? It's almost like, it's not like you don't want to brag about the things that are going great in your life, but I feel like not celebrating our wins diminishes the fact that you're actually doing something that matters, but you also feel like, I want to share when I have something happening in my life, that those people in my circle are equally as excited for me. I remember when you were like, oh my gosh, I just hit my 50th podcast, and I wanted to scream it from the rooftops of like, I'm so freaking proud of you. And it's those little things of, I continually show up, I continually do the hard work or the heavy lifting, and here's the fruit of my labor. That all hard work produces a profit, and if you have no one to share your wins with, it's lonely. People say, oh, it's lonely at the top. No, it's not. Not if you bring everybody with you, or have someone to share in the, the excitement of whatever you have going on. So I'm kind of having this idea of, wouldn't it be cool to create a winner's circle? That's what I'd probably call it. Where you have let's get to dinner or something once a month, or have a small group of people get together where you have a safe place, not just to be vulnerable, but I think sharing our wins can feel vulnerable too. Because you're like, well, what if I don't want anybody to feel bad about my success, or I don't want to make someone else feel smaller, but someone told me big people make you feel bigger. Yeah,
when and there's ways to think about it. Like if you have that mindset that's not abundant, and you see someone do something, you could have that thought that's like,
oh, man, wish it was me, or
like, oh, I like that, I had that idea, or because they're doing well, I can't do well.
There's no sunshine to go around for all of us.
Oh my gosh, everyone's in that sun.
But if you keep an abundant mentality that, like I said, if your hands are open, you can receive and you can also give. You know, when you think that giving and receiving are really equal exchanges, that when I give, I always feel like, oh, I got so much back in return, but I was the one that gave. Or when you're receiving, you're like, gosh, I want to take what I received and like recycle it back. Because it's this, what goes around kind of comes around feeling of when I'm generous, when I'm, you know, and being generous has nothing to do with me cutting you a check. And I think this idea of, well, I don't have a lot to give. My mom has said our whole life, being like, you know what? I might not have money, but I'll never be a poor person. I always have something to give.
Yeah.
And if anyone knows my mom, they'll be the first to be like, Felinda always has something to give. Whether it's a meal shared or an encouraging word, it doesn't have to be monetary. But like, if I've got it, you've got it. And that's just how our family's always worked. I'm like, nothing a group text can't fix. You're like, oh, mom and dad want to get to New York for, you know, one of Silas's performance. You're like, hey, I can do 50, I can do 250, I can do 25. And before you know it, you're like, flights are booked. Yeah. And when you have an abundant mentality that there is enough to go around for all of us, and when you start seeing abundance show up in your life because you've been generous, it all comes back.
Yeah.
And
one of my coaches always says there's still a scent on the hand that gives the rose.
Yes.
And so it's like there's always something in giving.
Or it's like the fragrance stays in the hand of the one that gives the rose.
Yeah.
You know, like, wow, like I get to give, but I also get to keep a part of that memory or whatever it is. And I think when people make you feel like, gosh, that was thoughtful. I mean, you just showed me the pen that you're holding, you know, is a gift from a friend that says roaming around. Just the thoughtful nature behind that.
Yeah. Or
the ways that people make you feel of, oh, you saw something that you thought of me? Really?
Yeah, I mean, especially nowadays. I mean, because giving doesn't have, like you said, doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be capital.
No.
I mean, there's social capital. It's sharing something on Instagram.
Kindness is free.
Telling your friend. I mean, it doesn't have, like, just the art of giving nowadays is just so much more expansive than just like the milkman bringing milk to your door.
Yeah. Or you think about, like, what are the free ways that people can be kind or generous? You can share this podcast. You can comment on something that someone else posts. You can be someone else's hype woman. Do you have, like, hype people on your, like, people you might even know who are like, oh my gosh, Roman, like, tune into your podcast, or hey, I'm, you know, gonna show up to an event that you have going on. Like, support like that doesn't cost you most times anything. Sometimes you can just show up and meet new people and have a great time, but it's the thought of saying, hey, if I say that I'm going to show up for you, how can I do that? And it might not even cost me anything.
Yeah. And I even tell people, like, when they're like, oh, can you donate money? And I was like, well, how can I donate my time? Because I guarantee you, if I go help you, you'll get a lot more than $20.
Mm-hmm.
If I go help you, I'm way better in person than that.
I'm way more than $20.
Oh my gosh, because I'm gonna light your whole damn team up, and then we're all gonna work harder.
Exactly.
Like, and so it's like, but then they're like, some people don't want to receive that, and I'm like,
okay,
gosh,
well, that's fine.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Might not be a good fit then.
Yep, but when you need someone to really spark something,
I got you.
Hit me up, because that's how I'm down to do it. I'm always saying that. How can I donate my time?
What can I do? How can I support you? And sometimes when you ask people that, they don't even know how to respond because no one asks them that question.
Yeah.
How can I show up for you? What can I do to take something off of your plate? I ask my builder that all the time. I'm like, hey, what can I do to make your job easier? What's on your plate that I can help alleviate now?
I got idle hands.
I never have idle hands. I'm like, I always have my hands, like, they're busy doing something, but at the end of the day, if you can take something off of someone's plate, it's almost like knowing people's love languages. What's your love language?
I like physical touch, as well as I give them in different ways too. That's what's hard for me.
So like, how do I receive love?
Yeah, because I like giving it. I like doing things for people.
Acts of service.
I like acts of service, but I don't necessarily like people doing stuff
things for
me.
you. Mm-hmm.
And then it's hard. I don't know. It's hard for me because I'm not like.
Do you receive compliments well? Your hair looks amazing today, by the way.
Thank you.
The beard game is strong. It's like, oh, what do I do with people's compliments? Like, do I just like pat you on the head, like, oh, you're so sweet?
So it kind of, I don't know. I even read the book and everything, and I'm still like,
took the quiz, the whole night.
Oh my gosh, I guess this is kind of how it goes, because I don't like quizzes and stuff online too. I don't like surveys because I feel
You're
like
trying to read into me too deeply.
I'm a chameleon.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Every time I think that, I'm like, well.
You can't put me in a box.
Yeah.
I don't fit in boxes.
Yeah,
actually.
sure. It's like I should be in sales in this interview, but then tomorrow I wake up and now I should be and I should be an artist. And I'm like, I don't even know what I create.
Create a podcast. What am I gonna do?
Yeah, and so it's like
I think when you know how you receive love, it almost, you can turn it back around and say, wow, that's probably some of the areas where I'm either really on top of it or that I struggle the most, of saying, okay, well, if I show up for everybody else, I sometimes wish that other people would show up for me like I show up for them. You know, like if acts of service is your thing, but you're like, but I have a really hard time when people ask me what they can do for me, because you're always the one giving, and it's the receiving end of being like, yeah, actually, here's something, because you don't want to be not needy, like you don't want to be seen as like, I don't need your help, but I want to help you.
One of my biggest problems, I've always been asking for help, and like, and that might be, because acts of service might be one of my love languages, but it's something that I'll never ask for. You know, it's like I'm never gonna ask someone to clean my room. You know, even though my room needs cleaning.
My room needs cleaning. If anyone wants to come over and clean, like deep clean,
I did recently do a deep clean, but it's like it still needs to know. Yeah. But
like for me, like quality time is huge.
I love quality time.
I would rather spend quality time with you than, because the reality is they print money every second of the day at the Mint. You can always make more money. Yeah. This moment is going to be gone. I can't get my time back. So it's almost, when you look at your time, like your bank account, and you say, how am I spending it? Who am I spending it on? And am I making more deposits than withdrawals? So the people in your life where quality time is your thing, I'm like, hey, like, let's spend time together. I can't get that back. And people are like, oh, time is money. I'm like, depends on how you look at it. Who are the people you're investing your time in? Are they filling you up? Are they draining you? I've become very selective with who I give my time to.
And energy. Yeah,
because you can't just give it to anybody.
Full circle compared to energy.
Your energy is different when you surround yourself with people who make you either feel bigger, big people make you feel bigger, or that you have an abundant mentality that like, how can I serve you? What can we do together to better the space we're in? Yeah,
I've recently started thinking, like, because ROI is such a big term.
And return on investment.
And I think of ROE. Return on energy, because like I started seeing it really because I used to party all the time. I used to be out. I mean, you could find, I knew every bottle girl out here. I was always at the tables.
Like VIP.
I was always at the tables and everything like that. And then the next morning I'd feel so drained with nothing really, with no return. No return besides a good time that I barely remember because of how much I consumed.
Right.
And so now it's like, I mean, people ask me to go out and I'm like, you know, I don't want to go to the gym now because it's like, I don't think that anything.
What am I going to get from that?
There's no ROE, and it's like I just wake up the next morning drained, and then that's going to take away from whatever I have to do tomorrow.
I'm going to have to write that down. That sparks a whole bunch of new thoughts, because you look at energy as kind of like time. Is it adding to my life or is it taking away?
Yeah.
You know, those people in your life, or maybe they're even related to you, who knows? Where when you're with them, they either make you feel like you could run through a brick wall because they pour so much into you, belief, or this exchange of energy, or the people you're around that suck it out of you, and then you're like, wow, I need a nap tomorrow. Every time I hang out with you, you complain about the same things, but you're not doing anything about it, or you're not helping your own problem, and then you feel like you're the one just pouring out. I was having a conversation the other day, actually, with my little brother Matthias, and you know, people say, "Well, you can't pour from an empty cup." You see that all the time. Well, you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give people what you don't have. And he said, "What's in my cup is for me. What overflows is for you." And that was such a mind-blowing reframe of saying, "What's in my cup is for me." So, however I keep my cup full, you know, whether that's self-care or hot tea, or, you know, taking care of the things that only light you up, so you stay full, so that whatever overflows on top top of that, everybody around you gets to be the beneficiary of.
Yeah.
But what's in your cup is for you.
Yeah.
What overflows is for everybody else. And when you are able to give people your time, when you're able to give them your resources or your energy, that ROE kind of idea, is like, you got to protect what's in your cup, or really know what the things that keep it full.
Yeah.
So whatever overflows is everyone else gets to benefit from that, because people are always like, how do you have so much energy? Because I take care of me first.
Yeah.
And if I take care of me first, then I can fully take care of everybody around me.
And then you can also just get very intentional with where you're putting it. I mean, just so that you're not doing something that's draining you. I mean, because I was like,
or feels obligatory.
Because I want to do what lights me up as much as possible, and then do what neutral stuff I have to do,
right.
like say clean my room or keep everything clean, do like all like the behind the work on the computer stuff I don't like doing, but stuff that I have to be done. And then the stuff that drains you, it's like
low on totem pole.
That's the stuff you gotta be aware of, because some people have it backwards, and like where they like hate their job and they put all this energy in their job, and then they're going straight to the bar after and putting more energy into complaining about their job and things like that. And then next thing you know, they get home at 9 to go in the bath or soak something up, and then they do 10% for themselves.
Yeah.
And then they wake up the next morning, and then they're like,
man. We call that majoring in the minors.
Yeah.
Or you're like the little things that drain me.
I gotta write that.
Or you like write it down. You know, when you major in minor things, you realize that wow, I'm giving my time and attention to things that at the end of the day aren't gonna matter. If you can make a list of the things that matter to you, whether it's, you know, your relationships, your friendships, your work, whatever it is, how can I spend more time doing the things that I love and less time doing the things that I hate or the people that I hate being around? I'm sorry, but I'm not wasting my time anymore on just showing up for things. I'm not here to be seen. It's either going to give me energy, it's going to move the dial in some other area of my life, or it's really things that I love doing. Yeah. Like, do more of the things you love. And I think a lot of people don't take into account, like, what are the things I love? At some point, I think, how old are you?
27.
So I just turned 30 in October. And it's like this light switch went on of, why am I doing some things that don't bring any value to my life, but they're taking up my time? So what would happen if I flipped that and said, okay, well, what are the things that make me the most joyful, that make me smile, that make me like belly laugh, or the people that do all those things for you? How can I do more of that? And what are the things that drain my energy, that make me feel, you know, on a low vibe, or make me feel lethargic? Or is it the things I'm eating or doing? How can I do less of that and do more of the things that are adventure seeking and creativity? And you know, when I'm not at work, what are the things that you'd like to be doing that don't do enough of? Yeah. And when you spend all of your time doing those things, that list of the things that you hate gets smaller and smaller, and then you just don't have time to put your time, attention, resources into those things and put them in that other bucket.
Yeah, I'm all about. Yeah, I'm all about all that, and it's funny majoring in minors.
Don't major in the minors.
I don't know if this is at every school, but at West Virginia, there was basically 3 minors was your major. 3
minors equal to major?
Yeah, so you could pick like 3 minors and just
really?
take like
Is that just a West Virginia thing, or
I have no
I've never
idea,
heard of that before.
But it's I know people who did 3 minors and they left feeling more lost.
Well, I think it's almost like being a jack of all trades and a master of none of them.
Yeah.
Like you could have your hands in a lot of things, but if they're not adding up to something great, then why are you doing 3 small things when you could go put your energy into like that one big thing that matters, or
that's so interesting.
Makes you feel like, well, this is my purpose or my calling. Like, why am I doing 3 unrelated things? And then you just feel scattered and lost.
Yep.
More than anything.
Yep, been there.
Find your lane and stay in it.
Yeah. And so these are some of the questions that I usually ask towards the end, kind of wrapping up. If you knew joy, you would know blank. Fill that.
If you knew joy.
With whatever comes to mind.
Whatever comes to mind. If you knew joy, you would know she cares.
Tell me more.
I think people who know me know that I will go the extra mile for them. I will bend over backwards. I show up. I'm very intentional about when people, I don't know, it ends up being like, what's my best yes? And a lot of times you're my best yes. And when people know that, wow, like of all the things Joy has going on, and some people will say, well, she's so busy, she's got this going on and that going on, like I don't know if she's gonna have time for me. And I'm like, I make time for things that matter. And I think that goes back to, does she care? Mm-hmm. And if anyone who knows me knows that I deeply care about you when I give you my time, I can't get that back. Yeah. Just like look at the ROI or ROE, she cares.
Yeah. And like, I feel like you're someone, which I think I am too, and like, you gotta find the people that will kind of meet you halfway too. Mm-hmm. Like I remember one day my buddy Rob was in Richmond and I was driving home from Charlotte to Northern Virginia, so I had to pass through Richmond, and he saw my Snapchat or my Instagram.
Was like, drive to my city, not say hi.
He's from Denver, and so he was actually on business in Richmond, and so he's like,
quick link up,
dude, I got this big hotel room, like come on down. And then it was just like him reaching out to me, mm-hmm. knowing where I was, mm-hmm. and then like me meeting him halfway, and then having a phenomenal night. Like I remember I was actually sitting at his business dinner.
You're like,
he's like, I got the company card. Come on out.
Swipe. Yeah. But don't you find that when some people will meet you halfway, you meet in the middle, but sometimes you're that friend that has to go the distance of you might not have anything to give, and I'll still show up for you. I have so many people in my life that do that for me when I'm like, I've got nothing to give. I'm in a low spot in life where I'm at freaking rock bottom that I can't even get out of bed to meet you anywhere. Yeah. But yeah, like you show up at my doorstep. You show up for me when I don't have anything to pour back in. But it also goes back to saying, hey, when you've made more deposits than withdrawals, people show up for you differently. Yeah. You're not the friend who's always taking. Yeah. You know, you have those friends or people, you know, acquaintances, associates, whatever you want to call them, they only call you when they need something. Hey, Roman, here's what I need. I'm like, what are you pouring back? Yeah. So I think when you can be one of those friends who shows up, who gives, who goes the extra lonely cold mile, that when you need something, it's not a huge ask because you've already poured so much into other people.
Yeah, those people that show up at your doorstep when you're not.
Those are the
real
like ones.
Those ones, but it's like those ones, it's like you've probably already invested in them too.
You have to.
You know, it's like, it's never a one-way street. Mm-hmm. And if it is that one-way street where they're calling and always asking for something,
not my ROE.
Street usually always comes to a dead end.
Yeah, dead ends.
Dead end.
And please take a U-turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
No thanks.
And so over the years, as you've kind of gone into real estate and everything like that, what are some habits or routines that you've kind of acquired that help you get more out of your day, your week?
That's a great question. Life? I think it all boils down to the power of a morning routine. Hands down. I wake up super early. Everyone's kind of like, wow, Joy, you're kind of a grandma. It's like 9 p.m. and I'm ready for bed. But you didn't see me waking up at 4:30.
Are you a 4:30 cat?
I'm in the 4s.
You're a 4?
I used to, I'm an Enneagram 2, but I wake up in the 4s. So my alarm clock goes off around 4:30, 4:45. I find myself in the gym 5:30, 6 o'clock. You know, taking intentional time to, you know, whether it's my morning devotion or meditation or just time where I can be quiet. Mm-hmm. My life is so loud and busy and sometimes feels very chaotic that's how I keep my cup full, is how you start your day sets the pace. Mm-hmm. Set the pace for your day. Because I think some people just wake up and they hit the floor running and they're already late and they're, you know, I don't know what to wear, I don't know where my food is, I don't know what I'm doing. They get caught flat-footed because they're not prepared. Yeah. And so for me, when you're intentional about how you spend those first waking hours, whether it's being quiet, whether it's getting a sweat in, that for me keeps my cup full because I'm in a helping business where I am dealing with everyone's stress and drama and the whole nine. But when you can zoom out and say, hey, when I take care of me, I can then fully take care of you. So it's, I don't know, I think my mornings are very sacred to me and it sets the tone for my day. And by the time I get to work, I feel like I've already lived probably what some people will live in a day by me taking care of me. Then I'm ready to go take care of everybody else. And then I also budget time for fun. You know, in the evenings, I kind of plan my day or my weeks before the week or my month before the month. You know, it's just being intentional. And it all goes back to saying, okay, how do I want to feel? You know, if you want to act the way you want to feel, then you've got to design your day. And for me, it starts in the morning. I go to work, I do my thing, and then for me what feels my cup up in the evenings is even though I've got up at 4:30, I have way more energy than if I woke up at 7 or 8.
Yeah.
You don't have to be working necessarily until 10 a.m. What are you doing between, 4:30 and 10 a.m.? That's almost a work day
really
for
is.
most.
Yeah.
And then I go to work from, 10 to 6 or whenever I'm done. And then it's always, there's something going on in the evenings, hey, how can I show up for you? What event do you have? What can I be a part of? Or if I'm filming the show or whatever.
Yeah.
Even on my off days, they're very methodical and very thought out. And it just goes back to saying, hey, how do I want to feel? And how do I act accordingly working backwards?
Wow.
But I guarantee you, do you have a morning routine?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Usually, I wake up, the first thing I do is meditate.
Okay, I'm horrible at meditating, so maybe you can hook me up.
I'd be happy to share my secrets with
Okay.
you. But I've been doing that for about 8 months now, maybe?
Okay.
6, 8 months?
Consistently?
Every day.
I've got to do it.
Every morning, 30 minutes.
30 minutes. I feel like my mind is always so scattered that I'm like, thinking about all the things I have to do or.
And it's difficult, but and we'll probably talk about more of this on the air, off the air.
Yeah.
But my meditation doesn't because I was doing these shorter meditations and I was getting to the point where I was basically I wasn't feeling my body, I wasn't feeling my thoughts. I'd basically let go.
Mm-hmm.
I was nowhere at no point in time. I was no one.
No one.
I was just darkness. Yeah. I feel like that's when the meditation really starts. That's when you can start really crafting what's going on. And so I used to do this one meditation where I would get there, it was only 18 minutes long, and I would get to that point right at 16, 17 minutes.
It'd be over
and then it would be now open your eyes. And I'm like, well, I'm not ready to open my eyes.
I wasn't done yet.
I felt like I was just getting started, and so then that's when I started going to the 30 minutes and the 35 to 40 minutes.
It's almost like a runner's high, where you cross that line of,
yeah,
I'm doing this, and I don't have to think about it. It's not like, oh my gosh, if I could make it only a few more.
Yeah. And so it's essentially it takes me about 18 to 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes to shut my brain off and to turn my body off.
10 minutes
and so then it's I do very intentional breath work at the beginning, first 10 minutes, and then I let my breath freeze and let it just kind of be natural for the next 5 while I let go of everything else that I got in my head and just trying to focus on the breathing at the first part. And if a thought comes up about work later, I go back to my breathing. And then once the breathing takes over, I can let go once I just relax. Yeah. And then that's when the real meditation starts, where I can pull up an intention and try and match the elevated expression of love, joy, compassion,
peace,
things
all
like that. And so then this is all, and these aren't even my words, these are all Joe Dispenza's, but when he essentially says if you can create that intention and that elevated expression and put them together so that the mind and the body are in one, you're basically creating the future. Instead of waking up, looking at your phone, seeing the emails
you're already behind.
And you're
already behind.
You're already behind, and you're just whoa, I got all this stuff I got to do, and then you're basically living in the past because you're bringing all the problems from yesterday or all the stuff that you didn't do yesterday into today, right when you freaking wake up.
Well, my dad's always said you have now and forward. I think about that often of what am I doing with now and what can I do forward? You can create your past. My little brother Matthias talks about it all the time. He created this whole movement when he was with the Colts talking about CTP. How you create the past is how you deal with the present.
Oof. This
moment is going to pass us, and it's oh wow, we were just having a great conversation, but in 20 minutes this is going to be the past, but we're in the present right now. So we do have the ability to create our past by how we show up now. And then you realize that, oh, well, I just have now and forward. So how am I being intentional about the moments I'm in, the breaths that I'm taking? When you're just aware of those things, you see the world differently. Yeah. Because you don't have to live with the regret of your past if you're making now count, because this moment's going to pass. But then you also look forward saying, hey, how can I make my future moments matter? It's almost like creating future memories or whatnot by how you show up now.
Yeah. Joe says the body doesn't know the difference. And so essentially if you bring up the stress from, say you got in an argument with someone a week ago, and then someone's like, oh, why are you kind of in a fuss? And you're like, oh, well, I got in this argument with my friend a week ago and we had
ruminating over it.
And you're like, wow, that one event is still affecting you.
Affecting you now.
similar, just like, because you're thinking about it, you're stressed, you still, when you think about it, the blood still drains, and then you get the goosebumps a little bit, and it's like your body doesn't know. And then it's like, if you picture yourself, like I'll tell my wrestlers, if you picture yourself winning a state title right now, and you can feel yourself winning your state title, gosh, I just had the hair on the back of my stand up.
Because that's this weekend, right?
And I was just like, if you can feel that before it happens,
how do you want to feel?
The universe will start giving it to you.
Act the way you want to feel.
Yeah.
Mic drop. When you think about the things that light you up, that give you energy, that fill your cup up, do more of those things. Act the way you want to feel, and a lot of that it has to do with designing it, but that takes intentionality. Yep,
and so it all starts with it, but you gotta find your intention, and just kind of you gotta know where you're going before you get there.
You don't get in your car without a place to go.
Yeah.
But people do that walking around lost every day. They don't really know where they're going. They're just hitting the floor running. They're already behind. I hate being late or rushed. You know, if I have more time, then I'm like, oh, I guess it's time to go to work now, or guess I'll, finally get ready. But when you wake up and you're like, okay, I've only got 15 minutes to get ready. I'm flying around. I'm losing things and tearing things up. Like that kind of stresses your body out. It raises your cortisol levels where you're like, I'm stressed out. Then you get that anxious kind of like, I'm gonna get stuck in traffic, and what if this happens? And I'm gonna get, and then versus
your mind is
so caught up in I'm already late and behind, or you could wake up and say, hey, I woke up because I said I was gonna wake up at this time. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. For me, it boils down to keeping promises I make to myself.
Yeah.
If I say I'm gonna be somewhere for someone else, I'm there.
Gotta be a person of your word.
When you're a woman of your word or a person of your word, people can trust that. And Ed Milet talks about it all the time of what would happen if you start trusting you with the things that you say that you're committed to, when you're going to wake up on time, when you're going to show up at the gym, when you're going to do this or that. But when you say you're going to do things, not just for somebody else, but the things that you're going to do for yourself, then your body's like, wow, I can trust you. When you say you're going to get up at this time, when you say you're going to do this, this, and this tomorrow, and you actually follow through, it almost makes you feel like, well, if it was someone else, I wouldn't miss out on, hey, I said I'm going to be here at this time. You can count on that. Yeah. But when you can start counting on the things you do for yourself, it breeds confidence. And that's how we continually grow.
Yeah, because I saw that in myself where I was like, I'll let myself down before I let anyone else down. Like, if it's something that I say to myself, like, I'm going to meal prep tonight, and then it's like...
And then you don't do it?
And then I go out to eat, and I'm like, oh, well, it's just me. But if it's like...
But how does that make you feel when you say, hey, I'm going to meal prep today, I'm going to go to the gym today, and then you don't do it?
It doesn't feel good.
I feel like it's almost like letting the disappointment of letting someone... it almost makes you the same like reaction of if I said I was going to show up for someone, and then I was just like, oh, I got a tummy ache. Like, people make the weirdest excuses of why they couldn't do what they said they were going to do. And then what happens when people do that? You just stop trusting them.
Yeah. When
you say you're going to do something, do it. And if you're not, then just let me know. But when I show up for people because I said I would, even when I'm tired, even when I've got whatever going on, but in the reverse of, I hate the feeling of letting myself down because I said I was going to do something, and then I'm like, why am I breaking the promises I made to myself? That to me like tears down my self-esteem. Just like building your confidence of, wow, I can trust me. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to show up, whether it's for me or you.
Yeah. Love it.
Consistent.
Consistency wins. So last question. Well, I guess not the last one, but the last big one before we
wrap it up.
So I essentially think that I can learn something from everyone and take a page out of anyone's book. And so if you had to take a page out of your book to kind of give to the world, what would that page say?
Start with gratitude. I think that changes my attitude before I start anything. Of like, wow, it's not the things that I don't have. I'm very aware of the things that I do have. And I think being in a space of knowing where you came from and where you are, I think for me that grounds me big time. Of gosh, the things that have shown up in my life are things I used to pray for. To be able to go and do and have used to be just a foreign thought. I mean, growing up, we used to sit in a circle, or we would go to one of my siblings' rooms, and we would come up with all these like grandiose stories of what would it be like to like be rich, or to have like a nice car or have 4 hubcaps. It doesn't have to be like anything like crazy. You know, we've all paid our hoopty dues. I'm like, does it have air conditioning? Does the heat work? Is the headliner falling down? You know, and to look back, all the things that really made me who I am was from a space of, gosh, I wonder who that future person could be. And now you're walking in this space being like, I'm so glad I never forgot who I was. That it's not the things, it's the people. You know, when you can start with gratitude of the things that are there versus the things that aren't there. Yeah. Treating people like treasure. That's something that got instilled in all of us growing up. My mom was huge about saying, you know what, the people around you matter. And when people feel seen and heard, just like anything that you have that you treasure, wouldn't it be different if you treated people like that? You know, when you can default to graciousness, when you can honor people. Like, I think the world would be such a different place if we treated people around us like treasure. Not that you're on one side of the aisle or I'm on the other side of a political view, or we might completely be on, you know, in different universes versus our morals or our values or things that matter. But if I can honor you, I think the world would be such a different place. Wow. And you treat people differently when you're like, hey, like, it's respect. Like, we don't have to agree on the same things, but I can still honor you. Yeah. And when you feel that way or someone treats you that way, makes you stand up a little taller and let your shoulders relax a little bit more. But starting with gratitude, honoring the people around you, and going the extra mile. I think sometimes you don't realize that by you just being you is what everyone wants to see. Yeah. And who you are, how you show up, a lot of times it's like, hey, like I'll do that little bit extra, you know, because you realize that the baseline is so low. The baseline is so low. People don't have expectations of you because they're so used to just, you know, taking what they can get versus saying, well, if the bar of excellence was way up here, you know, what would that look like? I always tell people, I'm like, hey, go be excellent today. You know, my sister started telling me that years ago, and I've just kind of run with it, of saying, you know, we'd be getting off the phone and she would say, hey, go be excellent today. And that just has run. There's so many the people in your life that have poured in and added these different things, you know, create the past, treat people like treasure, always give more than you take kind of mentality that we only learned that through experience and the people around us. Who I'm like, if I can take those things from someone else and implement them in my life because they've been that impactful, and then go do the same with someone else, you know, when you realize that I'm grateful for people, I want to treat you like treasure, and that going the extra mile is never lonely, ever, because people feel it. How you make people feel is huge to me, but I think that also goes back to that big people make you feel bigger, and I look at people that I admire or look up to or have mad respect for that make me feel like, wow, Joy, like I want to be in your space just as much as you want to be in mine, and that you both get elevated, you know? So I would say look around your life and say, hey, how can you be more grateful? How can you raise the bar of excellence? How can you treat people around you like treasure? And in the end, you know, how can you go the extra mile?
Oh, those are...
Rip it out of the book.
Honestly, that page, that's a dang good page right there.
It's a good page. Yeah. And write your thoughts down. Do you journal?
Sometimes.
I find that's
I need to do it more. I need to do it more after I meditate.
Like, what are the thoughts that come up? What are the feelings that come up? I've kept journals for probably since I was in college, and I can look back on them and be like, wow, like I was in such a different space. Look how far I've come. Look how much I've grown.
I have so many of these. Like, they're just different.
You should just go back and read them. Read your own words.
I need to go back and read them. Like, that's one thing that I really don't do too often, is going back and reading them. But I need to.
You need to do that, for sure.
So, shoot, after that amazing page, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah,
out here?
I'm on Instagram mostly at jump4joy4089. It's kind of funny when people look up my name on Instagram. It's like Michael Jordan and then me. It's like Jumpman23, and then like I'm right next to him. So big people make you feel bigger. Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, like you're next to Jordan. So
it was a marketing tactic.
Yeah, totally marketing tactic. That actually was my AIM screen name back in the day. 40 was my basketball jersey number in like 8th grade, and then I was born in 1989. So
4089.
I hope you're always jumping for joy.
Yeah, always jumping for joy. And then where can people find you out in the community of Charlotte?
In the community, anywhere, everywhere. If you want to follow The Soul of Charlotte, we're on Instagram, Facebook. You can follow us on YouTube. That's kind of the TV show idea. Really cool restaurants and events and really cool things happening in Charlotte. We're about to do some really cool charity kind of stuff coming up soon.
Do you have a release date for that yet?
Yeah, it's out.
Oh, it's out.
It's digital right now, and so depending on how things go, then we'll pitch it to all the different networks. But it's just a really great way for people to be a part of the conversation of what's happening in Charlotte. To bring people along with the people you meet, the stories you're going to tell, and what makes Charlotte so alive. Yeah. We've been having a blast with it. Yeah, Soul of Charlotte, Jump for Joy 4089, and you can find me on Facebook, just Joy Farley, but I might have to kick people off the Friendship Island to add you.
Yeah, or just join one of the groups.
Or just join my my group page. Yeah, Made for More. You can join Made for More or the Solo Diva group on Facebook.
Perfect. And then, do you have any last words for the audience?
No, I'm just excited to have spent some time. It's been a great conversation, and I can't wait to see the conversations that this might bring down the road too.
Yeah. Hey, Joy, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
I love it.